Welcome to the Society. This is my D&D roleplay crossover type of server for anyone who doesn't mind doing voice, text, or anything in between for their D&D experience. It's a bit confusing, so here are some frequently asked questions.
Why are there so many few species?
That is because every generation of the Society brings something new to the table. You are the humans, protecting the Earth and humans from anomalies in the supernatural. Though as director, if you manage to recruit someone of another species, and they are revealed to be trustworthy, I may welcome some new, odd faces in.
Why is there no magic?
In the past, the Society's policy on magical artifacts has been to destroy or remove them from ever coming into contact with normal civilization. Magical animals were to be killed and burned, or disposed of in a fashion to completely destroy their remains. If you can prove you're able to tame these animals and master the knowledge we deem too dangerous, perhaps we will allow you to keep it.
Agents in my Do you not hear me?
Let's try again.
Alright. How many agents can I have?
Typically in a D&D game, you have the one singular character. However, the limit here is 4. One in the portion where their verbal communications are being used, which means one character for any voice group you're in. However, due to the infrequency of these, and the fact there may be some cancellations and such things, you're also allowed to have 3 text agents. Only take on as many as you can handle, but the essence is, these characters will be doing the portion of mostly roleplay. That is, text roleplay, as opposed to voice. They cannot be in the same group, they can't date each other, they can't be in relationships, which means you can't have 3 text agents in the same group in some kind of polyamorous relationship running the entire show. To have a group of 3, it'd be you and 2 other people. It may get a little boring, or it may get a little boring if you're the only person there talking to yourself.
What are the group classifications?
F, E, D, C, B, and S. These ratings work on your team's average level, and they explain how well your team works together. Meaning, if you're a team that is level 9 and you're working together horribly, constant arguing, possibly even failing the mission, you'll be ranked as an F. This means you can only take missions that allow F to a certain thing. However, if you have wonderful communication, work together on everything, you can get an A, or even the very coveted S. S's, however, are often rewarded only to long-term campaign areas, such as deployments to other worlds, or missions that take you longer than an in-game week.
Where would we all be living?
That was up to you. In the old days, the 1400s to say, our society lived in small caravans or off the land as they rode their horses. These days, we want to keep that mobility while letting our members bring homes with them. For one, it keeps up the emotions of our teams here. Meaning, some people prefer to be able to watch TV after a very hard day. as opposed to simply sleeping in your tent and staring at the fire, questioning what your life choices have done to you. Other people would rather not have to cook over campfires constantly. Therefore, what has been employed is the usage of tiny homes. Out of character, so tiny homes are small mobile homes that have the entire convenience of home. That means typically power, typically a bathroom, a kitchen, a bed, and it's something you can lock, unlike a tent. Now it's up to you how extravagant you want this home. You can go for something as simple as a little Ford van with a very small home in it. Or you can go as extravagant as a full-on bus or a tiny home that requires towing. Now, not everyone's an artist, and not everyone is into the whole tiny home movement, so they may not know where to find what they need for a floor plan. A floor plan is more important than the actual exterior of your home, but you can include both pictures if you feel. Floor plan, however, is required. To find these floor plans, I have provided some links, and for example, here is one of them. So in this gallery, which is the Earth Roamer Truck series, these show you exactly what the homes look like on the inside, with measurements, and this allows me to take the images you provide, lay them out on a map, and grid them. This allows you, unlike a tent, to have an indoors environment your characters can move around in, cook, clean, sleep, and generally even have a movie night. And just remember, they have to be mobile.
So, what exactly does the society do?
The society here is to protect humanity from anything abnormal, from fairies to dragons to odd portals or rifts that have appeared out of nowhere. You receive your missions from the mission section of the network, and go from there. Typically, the teams are allowed to vote on their missions, though the first one is often assigned by the person who orchestrated the admission test. Unless it's exactly said how the abnormality is to be handled, that is entirely up to your judgment. Do be warned if you find your handling unsatisfactory, your pay will be docked. Honestly, this can mean that, well, depending on how well you're doing, that can really pinch your money. There will always be at least 3 open missions. Though, if you want to find your mission, please make sure to click on the thread listing what region you are in or want to be in, to see exactly what you might be facing in that area. And there's going to be at least 2 groups on each continent. Perhaps more. Perhaps 2. We don't know if they're going to actually end up wandering elsewhere and therefore leave a vacancy on their continent. Arthur?
I just don't know what.
Now on to the subject of salaries. Typically,
Right.
a docking can go anywhere from $100 to $300. However, you will be paid $700 every week. When you're not on a mission, your pay will drop to $500 a week. After every mission, you may get a bonus payment. The amounts are as follows, depending on the judged amount of work. C plus is 100 bonus USD. B plus is 250 bonus USD. And A plus is 500. If you get anywhere under a B, you get the C plus bonus. Anywhere under an A, the B plus bonus. Such as, if you get a B, C plus. If you get an A, B plus. The S, which has not been listed yet, is intended to give a bonus of about 750. But again, that is for long-term missions.
Okay, so what if I'm a monk and I found a wizard buff? Do I multi-class? Do I need to?
You do not have to multi-class. If you're below level 5 and you have found something that would allow you to get a secondary class that has magic, you can switch that class. And you are allowed to switch 2 skills. That is a one-time swap, however, and there is no going back. So, if you switch and you want to go back, then you would have to multi-class.
Do I have to be human?
It would be preferred that when you're applying, you start as a human, or originally as a human. However, through means in the world, or if you align yourself with a certain race, you may unlock certain races. This is also up to owner and supervisor discretion. If you can reasonably explain how a non-human has passed as a human and gotten into the society, and is actually balanced, we may permit you in. Now, this ties back to your missions. Depending on who you work with, or who you're assigned to go up against, and how you handle that mission, will decide how the passive relationships go. If you're trying to convince us on an application to allow your non-human in, please PM or include on the application a 1 to 2 paragraph description explaining how you will deceive the humans, such as costume, mannerism, and habits.
Okay. How does retirement work?
If you retire to have a child, you can do so before the age of 45. You must have at least one partner and cannot rejoin or join active duty until the child is at least 10 years old. This is about the time when, in character, you can send that child off to a society boarding school. You can also retire at 50 plus. If your character is known to be a craftsman, they can then choose to supply to the society. Please note, if you have a child and then come back to active duty, and something happens to your current character, that or they retire, have it known that you could, in all possibility and factuality, play your own child. Just remember, You have to make the first one last at least an extra 18 years. So that's 10 for the kid to grow up, and then 8 more with the society boarding school before the child can join. And yes, if they share a family, you can give your own character a small discount in the shopping area.
How do I register to be an agent?
Registering can be both difficult and simple, depending how you want to do it. If you want to go the simplest route, then in all honesty, I would suggest going with the D&D Beyond link provided here. It comes with a tutorial, it automatically does the math, and other than some small modifications to the inventory, you should be all set. However, if you're using one of our homebrew classes, and you want to get a little bit more creative, then I would suggest downloading the PDF. This PDF, as provided here, shows the 2 main pages and the 3rd page you might need if you go into mage or other magical classes. Just make sure you rename the silly thing, and for my simplicity, what I usually do is first name, last name, and then base, because this is the base of your character, and every single time you level up, you'll be adding a new version, also known as just numbering them. It keeps it easier.
How do I fill out page 1 of the form?
Page 1 is the simple, very simple character building. What we all start with is the name. Now, you are provided a fantasy name generator, which allows you to be able to understand and see what names you might be able to name your character. It also helps for those who just don't know what to pick. What this does, one sec. This right here is the generator. Scrolling down, there's a simple choice of human, and then you can select age and gender. Let's say we want to make a person who sounds a little interesting. You then copy that name, and you paste it onto your PDF. You have first part done. Following up is where you plan your combat style, also known as class. How you will do this is you pick a class. It's not entirely too hard. Now, it depends what kind of group you're joining, as newer groups are encouraged to start between the levels 1, 3, sometimes 5. This is just to allow you to have as much time as possible to learn your character. If you're joining a pre-existing group, I would suggest that you start off level 5, or at least 2 levels below what the current team is at. If your team ends up with a mishmash of levels, don't worry about it. There's a such thing as catch-up XP, which will even you out. Just remember, before level 5, if you wish to swap class, you can, but only once. You can also swap 2 ability stats, but you cannot reverse that change. Next is your background. The simplest one you could pick is just simply society raised, as it is something self-explanatory. Now, here is where you might put your name, but since we're kind of skipping that, on account of this is going to be one of my adoptables, you can just put whatever. The race is by default human, although variant humans are allowed. It's really up to you. Your alignment is your personality as a whole. If you're lawful, make sure you know what the rules are, so you know how to break or not break them. Chaotic? Chaotic is chaotic. Now, this is one of the few gaming areas that may actually allow you to play as an evil character. Though be warned, this is probably going to cause you to clash with a lot of your teammates, and may not end well. So you may just want to go neutral. And experience is 0. Any questions?
None.
Alright. Next, on to inspiration. If you're using the picture versions, I would suggest drawing some kind of easy to fill in shape here, as this way you can just dump and erase as you see fit to toggle your inspiration. Proficiency bonus is located under the inspiration, and it starts as a +2. Though at before levels it goes up by 1. Now, we go into the stats. If you want to hand roll these stats, you can. However, my highest suggestion is to head over to PC Rolling. One quick command can let the bot make you a character for you. Stats are not the best, but we're going to take them. However, you are allowed to place them wherever you see fit. Meaning, considering we're making a fighter here, we might want to put a 12 in strength. And perhaps the 7 goes in wisdom. Now for the modifiers, D&D Beyond will do this automatically for you. But if you're doing a PDF version, here are all the modifiers written out. Now there's a certain ability modifiers that are allowed via level. Check your class to see when those appear for when you're leveling up, as this is worded a little bit wrong. The saving throws are a maximum of 3 skills, or 3 stats, you can choose to have be what you roll for saving. This is a large mess, but in essence, go down the list and equate your modifier to what this level is. So if you have a +1 in dexterity, anything with DEX gets a +1. Don't mind a moment and just think about what you want to be proficient in. Make sure it's logical. As for if you're society raised, make sure you automatically mark off that you are proficient in Arcana and Perception. Proficiency gives you, I believe it is a +1 per level. You may correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Passive wisdom is your perception. So, perception is based off wisdom. Pretty basic. And perhaps not great for this fighter. Armor classes really depend on what you take. But the summary is, if you're not wearing armor, it's the number 10 plus your dexterity modifier. Initiative is simply your dex modifier as well. And speed for humans is typically simply 30 feet. For knowing your HP, I would suggest either taking the maximum number, taking the middle number, or rolling it out. Allow yourself to take that risk if you want to, and add in some nice variety. Or talk it over with your group. See what method they want to use. For a fighter, we're rolling 3d10. Giving us 11. Down below, make sure you mark off what type of dice they use, how many, and the HP. Now, for your starting weapons. Please look at your starter gear to know exactly what you can take with you. Copy paste this list, choose out from here, 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 and here what optional objects you want to bring. These armors are talked about in allowed things, don't worry. The rest of your equipment goes down here. Ignore all your starting items, except if it offers you thieves' tools or a healer/herbalism kit. You should have 1 ranged weapon and 1 melee weapon, and 20 of your selected ammo. You mark down your money, either custom write it in, or simply just keep note of what accords to wear. Followed on the side is where we're making your personality. You can keep it brief, keep it small, something you can change slowly over time as your character learns through the world and as you learn about your character. Personality and traits. This is where you copy down any of your nice little class traits. Arthur?
So, how do you fill out page 2?
I see. And thank you for reading that. Make sure you have entirely filled out page 1, and then we can move on to page 2. This is much easier. It is you physically describing your character, such as age, height, which if you don't know how much your character should be for height versus weight, there has been a provided link that will help you calculate such a thing. Such as if you are 6 feet tall. You can then enter in a weight and see exactly where you might need to be putting your weight. And immediately it can tell you metric. This is useful when you're making. This is useful for when you have to put both metric and imperial. For eye color, it's pretty simple. There's hazel, brown, blue, green, black, gray, and other maybe things that you might see with contacts. Now, skin tones. I've noticed in the forums of roleplays have been quite debated over what color is the best to describe what skin tone, and thus I provided a chart. This chart should help you figure out, what to classify your character's skin tone as. Same for hair color. Next we come to a profile picture. This is very important. Simply because not only are you going to be using this picture here, but you're also going to be using it to make a Tupperbot, and in the event it's required, it will be used as your character's token image. So it's very important to have one. There are quite a few methods you can use, depending on what species you're making. A personal favorite to everyone who seems to be using my server, or the applications here, is a League of Legends avatar creator. One where you can simply click through very quickly to create someone that fits you. Clicking through, you can even get it to make a quick default person. So, you may have to put a little work in. But not as much as you'd expect. And under no time, you've got yourself a character. And you can download it. You can actually then, on the PDF, simply insert the image, along with the provided image of the society icon. I couldn't find the actual image, so we're just going with that for now. Since I don't have the society icon, we're just gonna be moving on, you know. Good things. You don't have to have any allies or anything of the like. And for your backstory, I would only require a paragraph, which is about 5 sentences. Nothing spectacular. Here is the image provided. You can take a picture, crop this area, and simply insert it to your PDF. Now, page 3 is not as required when you're starting off, so we can skip that for now.
What is PHP?
That is the player handbook. It's free. Here's a link to the PDF. It's quite long, but it has a table of contents.
Is there a main backstory for characters?
There is, and it's a very loose-knit one. In essence, you could be anyone as long as you're educated by the society, which means you've gone to a magical school. Not like Harry Potter, sorry. What you cannot change in the backstory as a human is species, your training, knowledge of the society, the teammates you get put with, and the region you are deployed into. What you can determine is your race, age, weight, height, home region, who raised you. It could be a guardian, a teacher, a parent, yourself. You can decide if you have a pet, a mount. It's you who's picking out this tiny house. What you did as an agent. So before you became an agent, did you get the training and use it to rob shops? Help the poor? Did you become a cop? What did you do? Your personality, classes, the food that you're buying. Meaning that $500, along with the $350 you get after your first session 0, is intended for you to buy food and clothing and anything else you really find yourself needing. And of course, if you want, extra weapons. Below is a simple conversion thing of money that I'm not going to explain. Here's a link to a site in case you want something more exact. Arthur?
What if I want to be creative with my style?
Depending on your style, there are many ways you could go. Check over the allowed classes to see if anything fresh has been added.
What if I want to be really, really, really creative?
That is where things such as the archives and allowed subclasses come in. The archives will be mentioned in part 2 when we go over the Society's network site.
Getting spicing up one single style. Can I have two main styles and spice them both up?
If you yourself manage to reach level 20 in one class, you could then be allowed to get to level 20 in your secondary class. However, after level 20, I would suggest exporting your character from D&D Beyond to an editable PDF so that you can go over the restriction.
How do I make a society profile?
Making a society profile is done in PC Creation. There is a simple command along with a picture required before it will happen. That means simply tull !register name. If the name is more than one word, put the parentheses around it, quotation marks, or else it will not register as a two-part name. The brackets. This can be an abbreviation of the name, a number, anything you want. As long as right next to it is the word text. And then finally is the image. Below us, we have an example here. Now, if I were to go to PC Creation, put this right out here, copy the image, and paste it, I would make Lucy Davidson. And following the instruction right here, and right here, I can make her talk. Next, we're moving to the application areas. If you want to be doing purely text chat roleplay, that means text roleplay, no voice communications, this is where you're applying. You have to include your character sheet. You have to include your tiny house blueprint. Along with checking the allowed species before you submit. And things you might want to add as a bonus. Extra character backstory. I don't know why that's labeled twice. I suppose it has different explanations. And allies. This means you can apply people such as family, which could link into having, say, a backup character. It depends. This is essentially the same thing in the voice application. Only difference being, you are applying to a once or twice a week meeting voice chat D&D game. This is more of the classic style. PC rolling we've already gone through. This allows you to roll your dice. This is the PC creation. It has already been explained. We mentioned the starter gear already. And next we move to party gear. This is the gear your entire group is going to get. You're all going to have to share one society credit card used for gas for the 2 trucks, not for your home vehicle. Although, if you want to try and use it for that, go ahead. And it also helps with 15% off your mount or pet food. This will help you fund that grizzly bear you've decided to own. You'll get 2021 Dodge Ram 350 heavy-duty trucks. One of them is going to be dragging the livestock trailer for anyone who has a horse, a bear, a dire wolf, or it's simply a spare vehicle you can call upon to have, including the trailer. The other one is going to pull your 20-foot, 8x5-foot trailer, serving as a library, forge, and weapons armory. This means the place where you can store your absurdly large anime axes, meteor bullets, and record additional information, such as learned languages, maps, and any other stolen artifact you've taken from the people you helped. Another thing that you're going to gain is a livestock trailer of choice. Choose according to how you're going to be using it, and the size of mounts you have. If you're all riding pretty much bikes or some crap, and you want somewhere to put it, I'd put it in the Show Pro. If you have a lot of animals to where all of you are riding on something, probably this one is a better bet. Again, go with the size that best fits you as a team. House gear. Also, please make sure to check all the pins. House gear. This pretty much is you getting your entire house outfitted. From forks, knives, spoons, to pots, pans, cups, towels, bed shit. By the way, this is not going to last you very long. Make sure you shop for that crap. The everything pan, because that is a good pan, a kettle, and towels. You're essentially getting the very basics. Anything additional, you're gonna need to buy. Now, for those of you who want to play a supernatural race, and want to use your first character to unlock that race, here's your one-stop shop to simply grab someone off the shelf. They've been personality fit, picture given, at the very most. And from that, you just grab them, give them a personality, pick out a set of gear for them from the starter gear, give them a pet if you want, give them a mount, and you can apply with them. Please state who you've just chosen, however, so that they can be marked off as used. This is so we don't have about 20 Kif Grims running around. Allowed Things tells you exactly what you can add for your backstory and further down the line, such as Worlds, which is about to get an addition soon. Species, unlocking variant humans. The classes. Now you have the typical classes, such as Barbarian and Monk. And then you have the homebrew classes, such as Marksman, which may be getting shifted into a fighter subclass, or Scholar, The subclasses are still being a work in progress. The allowed weapons. This allows you to know what you can buy and how much it weighs. The updated sheet of guns is at the very bottom, so for convenience. Now for amounts. Anything goes. Equines. Karate. Giant canine. Giant cat. Bear. Bike. Large mobile. Boards. Shoes. And boats. Please note that after you get deployed, you can choose to change your mount. So if your mount is a giant wolf and you get put in Indonesia, you may want to swap that for a boat and turn your giant wolf into a pet. And then the allowed pets. We've got feline, canine, birds, both pet, praise, and, hunting birds. And then, for the more anti-socialist person, we have drones, RC vehicles. We've got, leporte, rodent, reptile, spider, amphibian, hedgehog, porcupine, skunk, mammatrit, which includes the platypus and echidnas, Tasmanian devils, koalas, bats, and mustelids, which include your things such as otters, ferrets, badgers, and wolverine. In case you feel like you need a wolverine. The armor information is as listed. This allows you to understand how the heavier and more complicated armor works, along with a chart telling you exactly, what it does. There's a link if you need more information. And from that is going to be our part 1. Are there any questions?
None so far.
And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below.